In the early 17th century, several groups of European settlers arrived in North America. Their primary motivations included economic opportunity, availability of land, and, in certain cases, religious freedom. One of the earliest permanent English settlements was established in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607. The colony was initially unstable, with food shortages, disease, and strained relations with local indigenous groups. Over time, the settlers adopted tobacco cultivation as a profitable agricultural activity. This development encouraged further immigration and contributed to the gradual expansion of English settlements. In 1620, another group of settlers, known as the Pilgrims, arrived in present-day Massachusetts. Their settlement, called Plymouth Colony, developed slowly. They formed a basic agreement known as the Mayflower Compact, which outlined certain governance principles. The climate was harsh, and the first winter caused many deaths. Eventually, with the assistance of indigenous peoples, the settlers learned agricultural methods that helped sustain the colony. Plymouth remained small, but is often referenced for its symbolic role in the development of colonial self-governance. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, multiple colonies were established along the Atlantic coast. These colonies developed distinct economic systems. The New England colonies relied on small farms, fishing, and trade. The middle colonies, such as New York and Pennsylvania, had more diverse agricultural production. The southern colonies increasingly depended on plantation agriculture, especially the cultivation of tobacco, rice, and later cotton. The use of enslaved labor became a central aspect of the Southern economy, shaping social and economic structures for generations. By the mid-18th century, tensions grew between the colonies and the British government. Disputes involved taxation, representation, and British attempts to exert greater control over colonial trade. Several acts passed by the British Parliament, such as the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, caused dissatisfaction among colonists. Protests, boycotts, and political meetings reflected growing frustration. Although conflict was not immediate, the relationship became increasingly strained. The American Revolution began in 1775, following armed conflicts at Lexington and Concord. The Continental Army was created, and George Washington was appointed as its commander. Over several years, the conflict continued with varying degrees of success on both sides. In 1776, the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, formally asserting that the colonies were no longer under British rule. The war dragged on until the Treaty of Paris in 1883 recognized the United States as an independent nation. After independence, the new nation struggled with governance under the Articles of Confederation. The federal government lacked strong authority, which caused issues related to taxation, interstate commerce, and national stability. In 1787, representatives met in Philadelphia to create a new constitution. The resulting United States Constitution established a stronger federal government with 3 branches. The document was ratified by the states, and George Washington became the first president in 1789. In the early decades of the 19th century, the country expanded westward. This period involved negotiations, purchases such as the Louisiana Purchase, and conflicts with indigenous peoples. The expansion created opportunities for settlement, but also contributed to displacement and long-term consequences for native populations. The economy grew, transportation improved through canals and railroads, and industrialization began. These developments occurred gradually and unevenly across different regions. Political disagreements increased throughout this period, especially concerning the institution of slavery and the balance of power between free and slave states. efforts such as the Missouri Compromise attempted to maintain equilibrium, but tensions continued to rise. Differences between the northern and southern states became more pronounced as industrial and agricultural economies diverged. Eventually, these issues culminated in the American Civil War, which began in 1861. It was a long and destructive conflict. After 4 years of fighting, the Union emerged victorious. The war resulted in the abolition of slavery, but the post-war period, known as Reconstruction, was marked by political challenges, economic difficulties, and continued social tensions. Reconstruction officially ended in 1877, and the country proceeded into a new era of economic growth, immigration, and industrial expansion. This concludes a straightforward, uneventful overview of early American history, presented in a plain, factual, and intentionally unexciting tone.